Hey everyone, I want to talk about thermostats. I get a lot of questions on does the thermostat actually help with energy efficiency? And that's kind of a loaded question because depending on the unit you have, is what can be controlled. On a commercial unit, a big commercial unit, or a unit with a lot of bells and whistles, yes, your thermostat that you have with it definitely can use the unit to its full potential. But a thermostat being added to a basic system, um, like I hear with Ecobee and stuff, listen, a thermostat can only control a couple things. The main things on a simple system is your G terminal, which is your fan motor. And the reason why it's G is because you use a green wire, which is G for green. The Y terminal, which in a heat pump is just a compressor. In a cooling system with gas heat or electric heat, it is your cooling signal. Your W wire in a gas or electric is just your heat strips or your gas system, just turning on heat. If it's a heat pump, you got your O or B, which is blue, or orange, which is your reversing valve, which means that the Y terminal is turned on and your blue or orange wire decides which way to direct the flow of refrigerant. And then you have, your common, your 24 volt, which is just power. And sometimes you have emergency heat, which will say, hey, if I have a heat pump, it kicks on my electric heat saying it's too cold outside to do mechanical heating. So we kick on the emergency, or there's something wrong and it kicks it on. It also could be if you have what's called a dual fuel system, meaning, hey, it's too cold outside, I'm running my emergency heat as gas. So those are just on-off signals. There's no variance in that. It can't say, hey, one or the other. If you have a Y2, say a two-stage compressor or two-stage system, meaning it has two compressors, which is very uncommon, you can have those. But a thermostat itself really can only turn them on and off. It's like a light switch, on or off. You can decide when to turn on your light switch in your house. You can decide that, hey, it's light enough outside. I'm gonna open up a window, which is like running your G wire, just running fan. Hey, it's cool enough. I only need it to circulate air, kind of get that feel of airflow through the house. It'll be fine. And certain thermostats can kind of do the same thing. Which is just turning your fan in the on position, which you can manually do yourself on most basic thermostats. You just have the fan to on. But what these high energy efficiency thermostats will try to say is, oh, we can save you a whole bunch of money on your energy bill by X, Y, and Z. So Ecobee and Nest and stuff like that, they have a tendency to keep what they actually do on their eco mode kind of vague. What they can do, and what I've seen it do, is it will turn on if the unit allows for it, because certain units won't allow for it. They'll turn on the Y terminal for your compressor and wait a little bit. It takes time. It decides whatever time that is, it's going to decide the time, and then kick the G terminal on, which is your fan. That can cause a couple problems. Well, problem A is your unit doesn't allow that. Your unit control in itself, if you send that Y signal, it says, hey, we got a call for cooling, so we're kicking on the internal fan. We're kicking on that fan regardless. So it does nothing for you if you have that system. The other thing it can do is it kicks it on, and your unit doesn't have safeties to protect itself from, say, low pressure issues. So then your compressor starts tripping on low pressure because there's no fan to add heat to the system to bring that pressure up, and your system trips on low pressure. It does it so many times during during a day. If your system allows it, we'll lock your system out, and then you got to call someone, or you have to know how to manually reset your system. The other thing it can do is, if you don't have those safeties, is it would cause what's called floodback. It means that you're not changing that state of refrigerant from a liquid to a vapor, and a compressor can only compress gas. It cannot compress liquid. It's just like water in your engine. If you get water in your engine, your pistons can't compress that, and it blows your motor. Well, it can do the same thing for your compressor. If it doesn't have those safeties, those situations where, hey, you left my fan off for too long and now I'm getting flood back because my system's icing up and we're not adding heat, we're going to blow that compressor. So that is an issue I have with people just throwing Nests or Ecobees on a system. And for myself personally, as a technician, I don't like them. Don't like them whatsoever. If your thing is, hey, I want energy efficiency, there's other things we can do to a system that a thermostat, just turning switches on and off at its side state, really doesn't push that energy efficiency out that well. The good energy efficiency thing is washing your coil, keeping your coils clean, your indoor coil, your outdoor coil, keeping those clean, making sure there's no debris that restricts airflow. Those are energy efficiency things, other than replacing your unit with a higher SEER rating, which a lot of times those SEER ratings are very vague on how much it actually saves you. What you get told is, oh, it saves X amount of time. Done studies, it saves so much energy. But those studies are done on a system running 24/7, like in a server room or something, and then they take the highest number and they say, look, it has the potential to do it. And they're not lying that it has the potential to save that if you were to run your system 24/7. But as a homeowner, you don't tend to do that. So these thermostats aren't really saving as much money as you would think. Now, are there thermostats out there and systems out there that it can? Yes, but on a general statement, on most units in your house, it doesn't do that. The things that you do like, and I like as a consumer of, I have heating and air in my house, the Wi-Fi enabling thermostats. That's nice because a lot of times I'll be out on a job and I'll realize, hey, my wife's out doing stuff. My kid's in school. I forgot to lower the settings to save some energy. Oh, I'll just go on my phone and lower the settings. Say, hey, unoccupied mode. Go into unoccupied mode. That way I'm not running trying to keep a house cold or keep a house warm that I'm not really there. I can lower those settings and say, hey, I just really need the house to be 60 degrees when I'm not there. Or in the summertime, I really just need it to be 76 or 75 or something like that. I don't need that 72, 69, or 68 setting. I can have those be spread out, and that will save a lot of energy because my unit's not running as much. So the Wi-Fi enable is pretty nice. But you can get away with not doing Wi-Fi by having a programmable one, and you just set it, especially if you have a job that is constant. You wake up at the X time and you get home at X time. Your wife or your significant other wakes up at this time, and those that 4 hour, 8 hour, whatever hour window where you guys aren't home, you just program your thermostat to say, hey, we're not going to be home during this time typically. So we just set it in the program so we can go ahead and go about our business, set it and forget it, and it will save you money. It'll save you a lot more money than what you're spending on these Ecobees and Nests and stuff like that. Honeywell Home is a really good thermostat that I like. Honeywell is like industry standard. That's where you go. Honeywell is a huge manufacturer, and they really take pride in how they dictate energy efficiency. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll go, hey, it's going to be a warmer day today, but it's going to start getting warm at noon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the temperature a little bit. Unbeknownst to you, it's just doing it automatically if you have it in their eco mode. And it just adjusts due to what it sees it's predicting to do, and what it sees how long it takes to cool down your house, how long it does that. So those higher efficiency thermostats with Honeywell, I think, tackle it a lot better. But they're still not saving you what they say. Every company says that it's going to save you a whole bunch of money. It really doesn't. So what should you do for a thermostat? Well, like I said, it's going to be based on your life, how you run your household. If you have pets and animals and you're comfortable with them being at that larger perimeter, but you may say, hey, I want the unit to dictate because of outside air temperature, because I have animals in the house, I want it to decide, then maybe a Honeywell, one of the higher end Honeywells will do you better. If it's just you and your wife and there's really no one there, let's just get a basic programmable, set it, forget it. And then you could also put in certain ones, you can put in, hey, be unoccupied for X amount of time because I'm going on vacation or something. Certain thermostats you are going to have to be weary of is if your unit has what's called dehumidification mode. There's no point in spending that money on a unit that has that capability and not use it. Especially in the South where we're located, dehumidification is kind of a big deal. Now, it's not a huge deal like it is in Florida, because our dry season is the winter and our wet season is the summer, and you running your AC dehumidifies your house. That's what dehumidification is. But in like the spring and the fall, you kind of want that dehumidification mode. So you would want to see, hey, does this unit have that capability? Most units do not. You have to buy something extra, or you have to wire it certain ways. There are certain ways you can wire, your emergency heat strips to kick on with the dehumidification and put a control board in there. But it's always going to be cheaper if you're replacing your unit to replace a unit with something that has a dehumidification mode. Now, how they tackle dehumidification in each system is going to vary. But in general, if you have that capability, you're going to want to make sure that your thermostat has that ability to use it. Same with emergency heat. There's a difference between emergency heat and auxiliary heat. Emergency heat typically is controlled by your outdoor unit if you have a split system, or your unit itself if you have a package unit. It decides it, and it just tells, hey, we're telling the thermostat, hey, we're running in this, so just go ahead and put it on there. For auxiliary heat. But for emergency heat, that's going to be dictated by your thermostat. So if you have emergency heat, most thermostats have it, but there are some that don't. You want to make sure that you get a thermostat that's for that. Honeywell has a great variety of it, and I'm not paid by Honeywell. I just use it, and it's industry standard. But certain equipment certain thermostats don't have that. So if you have the capability, make sure you use that. The best way to find out what thermostat is great for you, in my opinion, is one, just if you have a service technician or a maintenance technician come out, ask them. But also make sure you trust him. Make sure you trust that his opinion, he goes through and explains what the capabilities are of your unit, why he recommends this thermostat, and if it fits your lifestyle, how you run your household. Most thermostats that I put in are basic Honeywell thermostats, programmable. You can put a programmable one, decide I don't like the program, running the program, and I just want to say set it and forget it with one temp. I just want that temp. That's an auto changeover, non-programmable. Auto changeover means it'll go into heating and into cooling on its own. You don't have to flip a switch, but certain thermostats will require you to flip a switch. It's a manual changeover from heating to cool. Some people prefer that because they like that, hey, if it's only a couple degrees, I'm okay with being warmer during the winter time. If the day turns out to be the sun's beating on my house and it gets a little warmer, I don't want you to kick on cooling during the winter time. I don't want you to kick on heating during the summertime. Rather get that nice cool breeze and put on an extra jacket or something. So people don't want that. So those are the things that I like to explain to my customers on thermostats. There are variants, there are varies, but for the general public, for the general people who have houses, a basic thermostat, energy efficiency is not where you're going to save your money on the thermostat. The thermostat itself isn't going to save you a whole bunch of money that you're going to really see reflected on your energy bill, unless you have a unit that was installed that has those capabilities and someone puts a lesser thermostat to it. Basic rule of thumb, if you've paid for a very expensive train carrier and stuff, get the thermostat that is recommended for that unit. Don't throw some other thermostat on there. If it says, hey, this is our proprietary thermostat, or this is the thermostat that we recommend, go with the recommended, because it will have those features that really maximize what you can use out of this unit. That's not to say you can't replace it with a cheaper one later on, or that people haven't because of issues with the unit or whatnot. But on a new install, you tend to want to get a thermostat that matches the equipment you have, or matches the capability. You don't want to spend all this money on a thermostat for a unit that doesn't have any bells and whistles that is energy savings. The thermostat's not going to change that. It can't change what your unit can do, really. But on the other hand, you don't want to spend all this money on this unit that can do, a whole bunch of things, and then put a thermostat that can't tell it to do any of that. So that's just what I feel on thermostats. That's how I like to run my business, on talking to customers with thermostats, and I hope this is helpful. Thank you.